Are you ready to stop stress, anxiety, and low self-esteem from ruining your life? Join award-winning author and breakthrough expert Dr. Friedemann Schaub for Empowerment Radio as he addresses some of the most difficult challenges in our day-to-day lives. Find out how you can use the power of your mind to overcome self-sabotaging patterns and build a solid foundation of confidence and self-respect. Learn cutting-edge tools to switch out of survival mode and approach every day with greater ease, joy, and purpose. Here is your host on Empowerment Radio, Dr. Friedemann Schaub.
Welcome to Empowerment Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Friedemann. Happy Independence Day. I hope you're going to spend some time with your friends and family around the barbecue, in the backyard, by the pool, by the lake, watching the fireworks, and maybe spending a minute or so really thinking about what Independence Day is about and how easy it is for us to take the liberties and the rights that the founding fathers granted us for granted. So it's a day to remember that we are really lucky to live in a country that has so much to offer and also in many ways allows people to pursue happiness. Of course, also within limitations and, I believe, with some room for improvement. But that's a whole different story. Now, today I want to talk about summer because 4th of July in Seattle always is the kickoff date for summer before it's just not nice enough, not warm enough. May change now with the whole global warming, but what summer always means is also vacation time, going away, and just going into a whole different mindset. Have you ever noticed that when you are on vacation, you're kind of a different person? Maybe your kids like you more. Maybe your spouse is more in love again. Maybe you actually like yourself more. Now Danielle and I came back from 1 week of vacation, and we celebrated my birthday and our 20th kiss-iversary. We always forget what actually our anniversary date is, but the kiss-iversary, which is 25th of June, we don't forget. So 20 years, that was a reason to celebrate, and we did this with a mini vacation that included also walking that Compostelle path, which is the path that ultimately leads to the burial ground of Saint Jacques, of Saint James, which is the brother of Jesus, and it's in northwestern Spain. So the whole trail, starting in France, takes about 1,500 kilometers, so about 950 miles, and we didn't do the whole thing, we only did 3 days. But it was fantastic. It was amazing. 3 days just walking on the path that thousands and thousands of pilgrims have done before, and just really going into a different kind of rhythm. And the days, even though it was just like one foot in front of the other, the days felt fulfilling. And 20 miles later, when we arrived at our destination, we just felt like, yeah, this is something we have accomplished and we have vacated our mind, which was quite a wonderful experience to have. Now, when it comes to the vacation mind, how do you experience yourself? Do you find yourself also just more relaxed and more at ease? Do you also notice somehow that you're all of a sudden more adventurous or curious and just want to get the most out of time? Or have you ever noticed that you also are more open with your heart, that you just, feel more deeply, feel more connected to your beloveds, that you may also just have a greater sense of joy in life overall? And wouldn't it be great if we could keep that mindset all year round? Now, for us, vacation wasn't necessarily drinking margaritas and getting the deepest tan. For us, it was much more about, somehow getting the most out of this 1 week, and that also meant doing a lot of little adventures. So besides this walking on the path, we also went to a region in France which is called the Ardèche. It's like a valley with a river that goes through, and it's filled with amazing things that you can do, but also one thing we saw was a cave, which is a replica, but a cave that was found there with cave paintings. It's called Schaub, the cave Schaub, which was found somewhere in the 90s and has been closed to public and then made into a replica as a museum to be able to see what people 36,000 years were putting on the wall as graffiti, as a way to express themselves. And I have to say, the way they were painting at that time, I can't do it. I couldn't do it. And they did it pretty much in the dark, maybe with just a little fire by the side and with no brush or anything like this, with their hands and some charcoal. And it was amazing. It was absolutely beautiful. But these were also people that were wanting to express something, whether it was maybe for some spiritual reasons or some rituals, or maybe it was just because they felt, well, it's not all about just, gathering and hunting and just surviving another day. It's actually more. Life is more. There is beauty, there is expression, there is creativity. And in that form, the vacation mind that has all of those things as a part of it may have existed already 36,000 years ago. Now, why do I talk about the vacation mind? Well, on Empowerment Radio and my work in general, I really want to help people to ultimately get the most out of life. Because life is short. We all know it. We don't want to think about it, but ultimately it is. It's really, when I think about my life, well, how many more summers do I have? Maybe 30, 35. And just, this realization makes you realize, well, every summer somehow counts, or every year definitely counts. But for most of us, life is something that seems to go endless in our mind, and we're not really paying attention to it. And I also believe that life is a journey. It's not a competition. It's not something that's about reaching certain goals or being all the time busy or getting to-do lists checked off. Life is also a journey. And we know the beginning, and we know there is an end. We don't know where it goes after that, but we know there is a stretch of time, and ultimately it's like a road trip. Now, most of us, including myself, for many years, are treating this road trip like, going through the Midwest, the plains of the Midwest in the heat of the summer in an old car without air conditioning. It's grueling, it's not fun, it's just you want to make it through another day, through another weekend, and just be done with it. And that's unfortunately where we go into this autopilot mode. We are not really enjoying the scenery, we are not enjoying the ride, we are not really engaged in our lives. And so the vacation state of mind that is so different is a vacation, is a mindset that I believe on this journey through life could really serve us well to get more out of that stretch of time that we have here. We just don't know really how to get into the vacation state of mind. Now, I grew up in Germany, so I have probably more practice with vacation minds than most people that that grew up in the US, where vacations unfortunately are very limited and short. And that makes it even more important to say, well, how can you take the principles of the vacation mindset and make them a part of your day-to-day life? And today I want to talk about that, and I want to also help you just get some very hands-on tool to make this happen. So why would you want to make this happen? Well, I do believe when we are in the vacation state of mind, as I said before, we are not only enjoying life more and are more pleasant to be around, but I also believe that we are more productive because we are not so drained, we are not so stressed, we are not just dreading and feeling overwhelmed about the details in life. And I also feel like that ultimately we are becoming more our true self, because we are not really driven so much by these external expectations and pressures, but we are much more coming from a place of, what do I want? What do I enjoy? And what's ultimately this life for me? So that's what the show is about. And the first step of the vacation mind will be the step of opening the mind. Because that's one of those things that I find we do naturally when we're on vacation. Our mind is more open. We're not just, ignoring those things that are beautiful. I mean, my mom was always really funny because, as kids or teenagers, when you're in the car with the parents, you don't necessarily always look out of the window and appreciate everything, especially when you are, still dealing with your own hormones that are raging inside of you. You're often tired, you just want to shut down, and we didn't have cell phones at that time or tablets, so you just close your eyes and doze off. And my mom always woke us up and said, "Kukuma," which means look. And I think she was right, because she really could appreciate how amazing these different landscapes were, whether it was in Italy or in Denmark or in France. And so just opening the mind and realizing, oh, Kukuma, look what's out there. Look, even though your life may have been something that you totally, already feel like, well, I saw it all, I know every detail, there's nothing new to discover. Well, maybe there is. And that's something I'm gonna show you how to get there after the break. Stay tuned, we will be right back. Welcome back to Empowerment Radio. I'm talking about the vacation mind and how we can use that different state of mind that most of us know as a mindset that can make life, the journey of life, more enjoyable, and also certainly something that makes us feel more engaged and fulfilled on a day-to-day basis. So I talked before the break about being open. So let's close your eyes for a moment, unless you're driving. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and what I would like you to just think about right now is, what are objects in your immediate environment that you actually enjoy, that you like, that you feel pleasant? Maybe this is as simple as a glass of water. Can be your phone that you're in love with. It can be a book behind you on your bookshelf. It could be a little plant. I just want you to think about things in your immediate environment right now that you find enjoyable, that you're grateful for, and then stretch your awareness to your home or your family. Or maybe you want to think about this weekend coming up. What are things that you already feel like you are looking forward to, or you have maybe not thought about, but you could look forward to? What are things that you feel you want to experience and share with others. And then think again, back into the past. Think about someone who said thank you to you. Last one that you remember. And maybe the last time you said thank you to someone else. Think about maybe a situation where you felt like, oh, I made a difference. Or maybe a moment where something pleasant happened. Or maybe you think about a moment where somehow you had this little butterfly feeling in your stomach, maybe because you saw your beloved, or maybe there was a great song on the radio, or you watched something that really touched you. Now, do you notice how just focusing on that is getting you into a different mindset? And you can open your eyes. Well, this is a little treasure hunt that I love to do and teach my clients, which is basically about shifting your mind from looking only at the things that, potentially are problems. I mean, I'm an excellent problem solver. I'm always telling my wife, Danielle, that she shouldn't tell me anything 1 hour before bed that is broken or needs to be changed or fixed, because I cannot help myself. As soon as there is a problem, I have to fix it. It's beautiful, and it's also a liability, because somehow you can always look for problems and you never find an end. So I had to teach my mind to look for the things that don't need to be changed, that are perfect in the way they are, that are already right, and there's nothing I have to meddle with. And that is something that is the gift of the subconscious mind, because that subconscious mind is basically that little, truffle dog that is looking for anything that we ask it to look for. So my little truffle dog mind was looking for problems, stains on the carpet, maybe some streaks on the wall, light bulbs needing to be fixed, you name it. That was what I needed to do in order to somehow feel like, okay, now everything is perfect. It's definitely a default setting from my German upbringing. And maybe your default setting is more about, looking at what could go wrong, or looking at, the things that you haven't done yet, or looking at, the things that you have to plan for, and you're never really totally in that moment. And you're never really looking at what's around you that is perfect in the moment, that actually is enjoyable in the moment. So here are a few questions, what you can ask yourself every day, which actually going to help you and help your subconscious to have a new focus, a new way of looking at life as, oh, there is actually so much more than just problems or chore lists or expectations to meet. So every night or every day, when you wake up or before you go to sleep, you just tell yourself, I wonder what will pleasantly surprise me tomorrow. Some client of mine told me this, and I love that, because it really assumes, you're going to be pleasantly surprised, so you wait for it and it's going to happen. I wonder what positive difference I can make. I wonder what beauty I will discover today. And I wonder how the universe or life will show up for me, support me. Maybe with playing the favorite song on the radio, or someone, that you just thought about calls you 5 minutes later, or you just feel like that, somehow there is this flow that you're in, this groove, this being in that zone that, just happens, sometimes randomly. But when it happens, you feel like, oh yeah, that is really something, that flow of well-being there is the universe showing up for me. Now the point is that when you are asking these questions, that your mind opens up. Your mind is not just looking with these blinders on at that day-to-day black and white version of your life. It sees more the color. It is something that makes you see and appreciate much more deeply what else is there. My father was, someone I believe was a complete different person on vacation than at work. I mean, he was a great doctor. He did so many wonderful things for his patients, but he was also very stressed, and sometimes the stress showed up in anger. And when he was on vacation, even though he could also get angry on vacation when, for example, his favorite restaurant was closed, but he also was really fun and curious, and he loved little adventures, and he did tell us stories that he made up, on the spot, about a pirate with a wooden leg, and the stories kept on going and going and going, and every night we were already looking forward to the next story. It was wonderful. It was great. And I wish he could have had that mindset every day. So think about also, with that openness of the mind, how you are wasting maybe some of this time during the day, how you are maybe not really spending enough time with your loved ones, how you are just assuming it's about really getting the food on the table and making the house look in order and getting the homework done, but not really anything more, because it's a bare minimum that you feel like you have energy for, you have time for. And maybe that's not totally true. Maybe there are things that you can say, I'm going to put this on the back burner, and I'm going to put fun and joy much more on the priority list. I'm going to make special moments where we connect as the intention of the day, and not just feeling like, well, the house is in tip-top shape. If someone would come in, no one could find any fault. We all do these things, and we just have to really say, is that really the best use of our time, or is there more that we can enjoy during our life? Now, another way to open the mind is a fabulous exercise. It comes from the Hawaiian huna. It's something I would love to teach you, because it has so many layers to it. It's so many parts that it gives you as benefits. One of them is that your mind is more open and you're seeing a bigger perspective. Another one is that you are more disconnected from negative emotions and can also easier tap into positive emotions. It allows you to learn faster and easier. It's just great. Everyone should know it. Now, here it is. So what you do is basically widening your perception out of tunnel vision like this into more a perspective of the peripheral vision. That means like you're seeing, almost 180 degrees. So for that, you're going to have your fingers like this, like little goal posts. They're stretching up in the air. So you're literally holding up your hands. Your other fingers are curled in, only your index fingers are pointing to the ceiling, and you're looking through an opening of about 5 inches through those fingers. So these are your goal posts, and now you're looking at a dot on the wall, something that, maybe a foot or so above your horizontal line. So you have your fists up, index fingers up, looking through those index fingers at the dot on the wall. And then that's your starting point. Then you're moving your index finger out. That means that space between your fingers gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're still looking at that dot in front of you, but at the same time, you're also seeing in the periphery your fingers moving out. It's literally as if somehow your a door, a window is opening to your mind. So it gets wider and wider, that spot on the wall. You still have in firm focus, but you also see the periphery just being more and more aware of what's out there next to you. You can even rub your fingers to involve your hearing as well. And you do this until your fingers disappear far out there in the periphery. And if you listen to this and you cannot really imagine it, just watch the video again on my YouTube channel, Dr. Friedemann Schaub, or on Facebook Live. And now bring it back to the point where you can just see your fingers right out there in the periphery. Stay like this. Set your intention. I'm going to have an open mind to see the fullness of life, to see the colors of life, to see what life has to offer me and what I can offer back to life. If you start this in the morning with that mindset, you will be surprised how many things you have not noticed, how many things you have not paid attention to in the course of a day. By the way, you can put your fingers down, you can focus back and look around now and see maybe that your whole environment has changed and looks a little bit different than before. When we come back, we'll talk more about how to stay in the vacation mind, how to be open, and other little tools and techniques you can use just to be more in that beautiful flow of ease and grace as you go through life. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Empowerment Radio. Are you getting into the vacation mindset? Are you getting a little bit into that groove? By the way, if you are going on vacation, maybe it's a good idea just to notice for yourself, what am I doing differently? How am I talking differently? How am I engaging differently? How am I feeling differently? It may be something that will surprise you. Now, I noticed that I certainly are feeling much more at ease, especially with the things that I cannot necessarily control. Well, one of the things we did was caving. So we went down into a cave, never done this before. I would love to do it again. I'm not sure about Danielle, but she liked it at the end as well. But it was something that, you know, when you're calling in and you're a little naive, innocent tourist, you say, well, do you have a caving trip coming up? And they say, yes, tomorrow afternoon, but are you sporty? What does that mean? Well, I said, well, of course we are sporty. We, walked just, 65 kilometers in 3 days, so we are sporty. Danielle said, well, I'm not sure what you mean with sporty, so we had a little difference in opinions there, but in the end, we signed up, we went. Now, everyone else was about half our age, which, made us wonder, but that's fine. So we walked up a steep hill, and then we stood there at this, very steep wall, and he said, the guide, thank God there was a guide, he said, well, here's the entrance of the cave. Well, I looked around, I didn't see any entrance until I saw a little tiny mouse hole that really was very, very small. I don't know who was supposed to fit in there. Well, he showed who was supposed to be in there. It was him who just crawled in and disappeared. Whoop. Danielle was next, and she crawled in and she popped out like a gopher. She was just freaking out. It was so tight. Eventually she went in and she made it through, and then it was my turn. And I'm 6'4", so I'm not a little person, and I definitely got stuck at different corners, and I had to basically live for a moment for a length of 30 feet like a little worm trying to wiggle myself through. But maybe because it was of this vacation mind, I was totally up for it. I didn't freak out. I did not feel like there was anything, bad about it. It was just like, it is what it is. And what it was is then that we went in there and it was opening up nicely, but then we had to climb down a 30-foot wall with ropes, and then we had to swim through a freezing cold lake, and it was sporty. It was an adventure, and it was fun. And I lost my phone in the river, and it disappeared when we were kayaking, and all of those things I felt like, were just a part of the whole mix. My point is, even though certain things were scary, and of course it's sad when you lose your phone and the insurance doesn't pay, plus your whole, vacation picture album is gone with it as well, at the end, it didn't really upset me as much. It probably would have, in the day-to-day mind, way more tweaked me. And so there is something about the vacation mind that allows you also to have a bigger, a wider perspective. And maybe also it is because you feel more in control of your experience. You don't feel necessarily that you have to be the victim of your circumstances. You have that mindset of choice. I often think about Nelson Mandela, who was for decades in a prison in South Africa, and somehow he didn't obviously, cave in or give up. I mean, he had this whole idea about how to rebuild South Africa with much more equality and make it a country that he envisioned could be viable for everyone. I mean, that is someone who took control no matter what circumstances he was in. And I think this is something that I find the vacation mind does. And keep in mind, vacation is about vacating. It's not just about laying in a lounge chair. It's about letting go, vacating these routines and ideas and beliefs that somehow really burden us or hold us back or keep us small, and rising above them and making different choices. So choosing just to go through the cave, choosing to just find a way to get a new phone, choosing to not get upset when something doesn't work the way you want to, that is also something that I believe we are so much more able to do in vacation than in our day-to-day lives, where we just have a much more stringent and much more rigid way of thinking. Now, the other thing is also that vacation mind is basically clear about the expectations. When you're in vacation mind, you're not necessarily saying, well, I'm making vacation now in Alaska, so I want to water ski. Well, that's probably not necessarily what you do in Alaska. Maybe you're watching more of the bears or chasing away the mosquitoes or watching the beautiful scenery that only exists there. Who knows? But your expectations are clear. You're saying, I will not get upset when certain things are not there because I'm not expecting them. I have an idea. Now, do you know necessarily what would be your ideal way of living and going through your day-to-day life? Not talking about winning in the lottery or quitting necessarily your job, or just saying like when you're changing nothing externally. How often do you get upset about things that you feel like should be different, rather than feeling like, well, how can I still make it enjoyable? How can I still get something positive out of it? I had a client who really hated her job until I asked her, well, even if you don't like your job, what about the people? Do you think there are some people that actually could be your friends? Do you feel like that when you engage with them or talk with them about life, that there's something that you can share that is meaningful to them and something they can actually give back to you? And just that little tweak made her want to go to work. because she no longer just focused on that what she didn't like, but she focused much more on what was actually enjoyable and what is available in that moment. And that positivity also gave her then much more a greater sense of possibility and confidence, and eventually she quit her job. But she didn't quit it with a sense of anger or frustration. She quit it because she knew, I can have better than that. Now, there are people that you may have, around you. I can think of, just on the top of my head, of 2 people that I admire for their modeling of positive attitude around work. They may not call it vacation mind, but they definitely show work can be fun. There's one guy that works in a cafeteria of a big grocery store. And it's a cafeteria for everyone. It's not just for the employees. And he is just so extremely open and positive and always smiles and always has a joke. And I believe 80% of the people just come for him because they get a dose of his, sense of humor, his lightness, his positivity. It's just what makes the meal so much better. And I'm sure it makes his job also so much more enjoyable because he looks forward to see the people. He has a little chat with them. And the same was happening in a grocery store in Seattle, that there was an employee at the cashier, the checkout stand. Same thing. He always had a little smile and a remark on what people were buying, a little joke, and he made people feel seen, and he got a lot of love back. And I know, just by how he looked and what the energy was he displayed, he loved his job. So where is it that you can maybe improve your attitude towards your work by just having a little bit of that lightness, that joy, that fun in your mindset as you go to it? Is it about other people? Is it about maybe feeling more creative about your work? Or is it about also how you are going about the day? Maybe, when you are at work, it's not just about, clocking in the hours and just, being in a place where you can't wait until it's over, but maybe it's about really also feeling pride about what you're doing, seeing that, oh, I'm making a difference, there is a purpose. Maybe you can think about creative ways to have a more enjoyable time at lunch, or just take a different route home than the usual route. Stop somewhere, maybe in a park bench, and just take in the evening sunset. And what I'm saying is, mix it up. Make your life more interesting by mixing it up and taking more charge, taking more control. There is always a framework. We may not live in the city that we really wanted to. We may not have the profession or career that we really dreamt of. We may not live in the house or apartment that we really want, but all of that can still become much more positive and enjoyable if we are changing our mindset, and if we're mixing it up, adding something, little touches of creativity, of fun, and of joy into our day-to-day lives. Now, this is again just an overall change in attitude, but what helps with the vacation mind specifically is to really say, well, rather than having to have these focuses for 365 days and for 30 or more years, which seems daunting, and then you lose a little bit interest or attraction, just say, well, I'm gonna take a month or maybe 2 weeks, and that's my focal time to learn something new. Just like on vacation, you say, I'm gonna go on vacation to explore a country, or to hike a mountain, or to enjoy relaxing by the beach, or go on a cruise. You have a certain amount of time, and with this focus, you actually have also very clear intentions on what you're going to do to benefit from that time the most. And so if you're saying, I'm going to just take 2 months to become a really great vegetarian meal cook, or I'm going to take 2 months to explore whether I enjoy more different kinds of yoga or Pilates or anything that moves my body more. That's an adventure. Or I'm going to take 2 months to make 5 new friends. Or I'm going to take 2 months to really get more closely connected with my kids or my parents. Or just take your time and have a focus. Really make this time that, besides the chores and work and so on, is available to you when you maybe watch less TV or turn off more often the tablets or the phones, and maybe also delegate more stuff that you don't have to do, or put things that you feel you have to do just a little bit more in the back burner for now. And then you have space, and that time, take that time to really explore something new. And this, again, when we walked this Camino, you had every day a destination. We knew after 3 days this is where we want to be, and that pulled you forward and it gave you energy. And we thought we had to train for it because everyone said you're going to be sore and it's going to hurt you. And no, I think this energy and the positivity just pulled you forward, and it was fabulous. And so just also see that time honoring as something that you want to do more as you go through that change in mindset, shifting into a more vacation mind. One thing that I found so interesting about the vacation mind is also how time is stretching, right? I mean, we had 1 week of vacation, but we felt like we were gone for 3. It was unbelievable. And often when we do these tours to Egypt, for example, these are 12 days, 14 days, people feel like they were gone for a month. Why? Because we are so present, it is so full, it feels like every moment somehow we are taking in, we are aware, and we are not just in autopilot. And that's what I mean is available to all of us, whether you are mixing it up, as I suggested, are more open, or maybe you're just also saying like, well, I actually am living in a city and I never saw any museum, I didn't do any, tourist bus tour, I didn't see any of those things that usually people come to see. Well, maybe I should be a tourist in my own town, which is something that I often hadn't done and later on regretted. I never did the underground tour in Seattle. Can you believe it? Well, I should. So what I also find, and this is more internal, the vacation state of mind lets you be much more kind to yourself. You let yourself more off the hook. You're not so hard. You're not so on that short leash. You're not feeling so that need for perfection or that need to perform. And your mindset and the way you're thinking and talking to yourself is just more filled with a sense of ease and maybe compassion. So just allow yourself also to notice, well, when I'm on vacation or when I'm going into this more open mindset, when I'm thinking more about how can I get the most out of this journey of life, wouldn't I also probably have a different rhythm? Would I go about life maybe more easily and more slowly? Would I push myself less? Would I tell myself less often, oh, you have to do more, you have to be better, you have to accomplish more? Maybe I would just be more kind and gracious, and maybe I would just be more okay with who I am, which is something I certainly have noticed from my vacation mind, but also from many people I talked about this subject, because it's a very interesting subject for me to see how we do something so well in one area of our lives and all of a sudden we forget how to do the same thing in the area of life that we spend the most time with, which is the day-to-day life. So just allow yourself to notice, am I doing things sometimes because I have to be busy, I have to be productive, I have to constantly somehow tell myself, oh, I have done this and accomplished that. Is that really who I am, or is that what I feel I need to be, or I was told I need to be in order to get love and appreciation? And then notice what you prefer on vacation. Maybe on vacation you actually do like much more to relax and you're enjoying just, staring into space and doing nothing. And give yourself permission to do this more. I'm talking a lot about curious and fun activities and mixing it up, but there is a sweetness in doing nothing. There is a sweetness in just sitting in a street cafe and watching people come by. I mean, how often do you do this when you're in different cities? Like you're in Paris or Rome or something, and isn't that one of the main activities? Just to hang out and watch, and don't really have to do anything but that, just taking it in. You can do the same in nature. Love to lean on a tree, just watch the scenery, listen to a little creek run by. But being in a non-scheduled, non-doing state as a human being is also a part of the vacation mind. Taking naps. Again, I have to bring up my father. He was actually really good in taking naps, because I feel it's something that he refreshed him and made him ready for the afternoon when he went back to his office. And so I think there is something also that maybe we all could really just benefit from, just to close our eyes for 10 minutes, even if you're at work, or even if you are just after lunch, sitting on a park bench. Close your eyes, listen to some music, disconnect, go into the sweetness of nothingness. And again, see afterwards how your whole rhythm is slower, how your whole energy is lighter, how you feel overall just so much better. Now, and the last thing I would like to invite you is just to go back into the joy of daydreaming. A client of mine told me that, she, also German, is someone who has been always on task, has been always looking after, even as a little child, after her father, because her mother had died early, and basically she felt she had to fix and do and make sure everything is okay all her life. And she told me that when she was in school, at times when she didn't have to fulfill a chore, she was looking out of the window and just lost in her thoughts, did a little bit of daydreaming, which really felt soothing and relaxing to her. And then she got scolded for it by a pretty strict teacher who basically said, you're not supposed to do this. Daydreaming is stupid, not really helpful, forget about it. And so for, I think, almost 65 years, she had never allowed herself to daydream again. And I think that is something that I feel is really important to do more often, just to let your mind go into a place where either you're looking forward to something, maybe you're looking forward to a trip, or you're looking forward to a weekend or the evening, or you're dreaming something up about, a book that you're reading or a show that you're watching. You let your mind just go. Maybe you can go backwards and relive how beautiful it was to swim in the ocean, or to watch the sunrise after a fun party. And I would like you just to give yourself more permission to live in that dream state. I mean, animals do it. Whales basically don't sleep. They're in that alpha dream state where they're kind of awake, but also their brain waves are really relaxed, and the same is true for horses. So they don't need a lot of sleep. They are in that daydream that just is in itself vacating the mind, relaxing the mind, and creates a certain sense of joy and openness that is not necessarily available to us in that normal day-to-day busy state of mind. Well, I hope you have a few ideas now about the vacation state of mind. There is, of course, much more that you can do and find out. Maybe there are things that just as you listen to the show came to your mind. But, today is a vacation day, 4th of July. You can already find out, well, what am I doing differently? How am I feeling differently? And how do I talk to people or myself differently? And how can I find that more enjoyable way of being also is something I want to strive for during my everyday life. And how can that stretch time, make my life more fulfilling, make me more creative, productive, more pleasant to be around, and in the end, really enjoy this journey as a road trip with no certain destination, but certainly a lot of highlights along the way. Thank you so much for tuning in and taking your time to listen to Empowerment Radio. Again, you can see all the reruns on Dr. Friedemann Schaub, the YouTube channel, on my Facebook channel, Dr. Friedemann, and also on the website, drfriedemann.com. And if you have any questions about my work or interested in having just more information about my breakthrough sessions and how I can help you to overcome stuckness, anxiety, depression, or just an overall sense of feeling lost in your life, I'm so happy to talk with you and help you to just get your life and yourself to that next level. Until next time, take care. Again, happy 4th of July. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Empowerment Radio with Dr. Friedemann Schaub. Join Dr. Friedemann every first and third Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, as he addresses some of the most prevailing challenges of our daily lives. To learn more about how Dr. Friedman's personal breakthrough program can help you overcome fear, anxiety, and low self-esteem, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com.